Alright team, so welcome to another episode of working on your aerial anatomy, just getting better at understanding how your body needs to work and move for better lines, for better stability, and for faster progress. So today we are going to discuss the glute and pelvic activation, glute, hamstring, and pelvis, and how important it is for your aerial practice. So let's dive in. So what I prepared for you today is first understanding why do we need a pelvic activation and also hamstring. So what I noticed, just pelvis, glute, and hamstring. What I've noticed with a lot of my students and a lot of members and a lot of people that come to my classes, and even with myself when I first came back to aerial training, was that I did not understand how to harness the full strength of my glute for my balance. So hamstring are very important for obviously your hocks and your knee hangs. Your glutes are extremely important because they are part of your main stabilizers. It's not just about the core, you also need the glutes and that pelvic floor activation. Yeah, so when we invert, we obviously want a strong pelvic floor. When we find balance and extension in our lines, we want beautiful hamstring and glute activation. So not only does it help stabilizing, but it also helps shape your lines too. And how do we work this, and how do we understand where we need to work a little bit more into activation? So I've created just a couple of exercises for you, a few sequences for you to test out how your hamstring and your glutes activate, where your pelvis is kind of failing, and when you start to use a bit more your lumbar spine instead of using your hamstring and your glutes and your pelvis activation. What's important here, especially when we do front balance, is the fact that we can end up a little bit into using our lumbar. So when you start doing some front balance, for instance, what I see often is people trying to lift into front balance like this, when we are meant to be activating through the glutes and the hamstring and the pelvic floor. So when people lift into front balance, often they just kind of go like this. But you see my pelvis here is anteriorly tilted. Whereas we still want a nice spine extension, that's not the issue, yeah? But we want to make sure that we still active. So for example, when you do a camel pose, yes, you will feel that you do have to engage that pelvic floor. You're still taking back bends and back extension, but you are pushing and lifting through that pelvic floor here. So when we lift and we pull and exhale, we tuck that tailbone under, we lift that pelvis, we lift those hip bones up, whoosh, and we brace that core and that rib cage. If you watch the other episode, you understand what I mean with engaging into the rib cage. Yes, so there's another video about the anatomy and the alignment, understanding of that. And there is also a video of like how to harness your rib cage properly. So now we're going to do a couple of exercises to test that out. The first exercise is a glute bridge activation. You will need a block, yes, so that will help. So again, here you might want a feel of your pelvis and your glute activation from a spine perspective. When I teach Pilates, this is something I teach a lot, because a few people I've seen when they do glute bridge, again, they glute bridge like this, yeah? That's not a glute bridge. A glute bridge is when we harness that core and we really squeeze into the glutes. The first part that you want to do is take those breaths, take the moment to activate that breath. And then when we start lifting into glute bridge, we really anchor through the feet. And then we squeeze through the glutes, we tag that tailbone. You see here my pelvic floor is really pulling in and I articulate my spine. It's not about how high I reach, but more about how much of my glutes I can activate here. Yeah. So now here I have to pay attention for a moment. Here I want to pull into my pelvic floor a little bit more. I want to close my rib cage and keep it soft so it's not flaring out. Yeah, so we want to try and soften that rib cage and again activate that deep core muscle. And then we're going to try and articulate down the same way we came. So we roll down nice and slow, nice and slow. And you see as well here, I'm not dropping my glutes down. I'm not touching my glutes down. I am going into my lower back. And then my sacrum, my hip bone, and then my tailbone, and then my glutes, my sit bone. Yeah, so this can take a little while and take a bit of practice. Yeah, so practicing that spine segmentation. Now you can do the same kind of exercise holding the block between the thighs and really squeezing. That gives you even more that sensation that you need, because again, a lot of people tend to land like this in the anterior tilt, and you're not really engaging the glutes here. So we want to try and really work on that spine segmentation, that core activation here. Yeah, so your anterior chain is not deactivated. So same thing when I was saying into front balance, you don't want your anterior chain to deactivate. You still want to use that upper core and that lower core towards each other. So when you start extending the legs, you see we are extended and we are stable here. Yeah, so that's another exercise you can try. Here is finding that lovely alignment while still working. Yes, it's a simple exercise, but you can quickly drop that hip down and think that you're lifting. No, we are activating, and we are here, really activating here. I'm like squeezing, I'm trying to align my pelvis and my hip bone. Okay, let's move on to the other exercises. All right, so for the second exercise, you can still use your block. I like to place it, you have the option to place it this way or that way. Yeah, so there's like different width that you can try. So here again, when I'm talking about the front balance, you might be struggling with your anterior tilt, meaning your lower back will take a lot of the load. So when you take a lot of the load, let me start with that, the block, is you're gonna lift everything through the lower back here. You can see my back, my belly is relaxed here. My belly button is pushing down. Yeah. So a lot of people are really disengaged here and they just lift through the back. They lift through the lower back. Yeah. Whereas we really want to teach the body to first pushing the pubic bone, the lifting through the legs. So again, as well, the leg lift and the leg extension is not necessarily an exercise for you to again lift through the pelvis and the lower back. No, it's an extension through the glutes and the hamstring and the legs. You see here what I try and work on is lifting my belly button off the mat. All right, let me just take my mic here. I'm going to put the microphone in front of me. So exercises is hollowing the body on the ground. Yeah, placing your hands on the belly here. Okay. And then I want you to try and first squeeze your glutes, push your pelvic floor, lift it up, and try to imagine you want to hollow your ribcage and lift that belly button away from your hands. Yeah, you want to feel the core activating here. And only then try and see if you can lift the legs without disengaging that core engagement at the front in your anterior chain. Okay, so this is like a really important part of your exercise because this is your alignment for your extension. After that, we lift obviously the back, right? But we still want to engage. Again, like I did in the glute bridge, yeah? We were still working on closing that rib cage. We don't let go of the rib cage. So the way you can do this with a block is to understand as well the squeeze inside the thighs, the squeeze in the glute by doing the same thing. I start with hands under the belly, push the pubic bone, lift into the glutes, and try and keep this hollow as I lift my legs. I keep engaging my core, and then only then I can try and lift through the upper back. I don't disengage my rib cage. Yeah, so I still engage my core, I still push the pubic bone into the mat, so I still squeeze into my glutes and my hamstring, close my rib cage even when I arch the back. So at no point I'm disengaging everything. Okay, so I hope that kind of helped a little bit to understand. I'm really hoping that you give those a go and try and find the fine tuning and the alignment that can help make this better. Again, what I was saying is try and work on your front balance to be a bit more extended from your pelvis and your legs, and also everything from your gazelle and splits will start also looking a bit more extended and fluid and graceful, because you are going to extend those hamstring and those glutes a little bit more with intention. There is one last exercise which I tend to do on all fours that is also a good test, is placing that block under your glute, that crease, and on all fours, and trying to see how you can maintain a neutral spine. So I invite to film yourself doing this, because again, a lot of people want to try and extend and they let go. Nice, extending, and then maybe lift the arm as well and try and find that stability in that extension. So glute, hamstring, but we still pull into the pelvic floor. We don't let go of the pelvis. So you can try this with each leg as well, and that will give you a bit more of an idea. So watch yourself in the mirror, film yourself on video, send it to me, let me have a look at it if you need. But I hope that this made sense. So between the breath work, which is another episode, understanding alignment and the core, your shoulders, all the anatomy of aerial movements, added with why do we need to activate a bit more through the glutes and hamstrings and the pelvic floor for stability and for better extensions. I hope that this is really kind of helping you connect all the dots together to make your practice a bit more intentional and progress a little bit faster. Let me know how you found it. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to comment, like, and share this with other fellow aerialists that need it as well. But in the meantime, I thank you so much for coming and watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.